All right, today we're going to talk about some pretty revolutionary tech that is totally changing how natural gas gets around the world. We're talking about floating liquefied natural gas, or FLNG. Think of them as massive energy factories and terminals that just float on the ocean. But first, before we get into these giant ships, you kind of have to understand the big picture problem they were built to solve, and it all starts with the wild, unpredictable world of the global energy market. Just take a look at this. This chart shows average gas prices in major markets, and wow, it is a complete roller coaster, isn't it? You can see how prices just spike and crash based on everything from a cold winter to political drama. I mean, this is the very definition of a volatile market. And that volatility, it creates a huge, huge challenge, right? If you're a country trying to keep the lights on or a company trying to plan more than a few months ahead, how on earth do you lock in a stable, affordable energy supply when the market is just constantly swinging all over the place? So, how do you solve a puzzle like that? Well, enter this really clever solution that, you guessed it, literally floats. It's a way to get around all the traditional headaches by putting the entire energy setup right onto a ship. So here's the core idea. FLNG technology basically takes all the complex, super expensive plants you need to process natural gas and puts them onto these enormous vessels. And these ships, they really come in two main flavors, each with a completely different job. And getting this difference is absolutely key. So on the left, you've got something called an LNG FPSO. It's a mouthful, but it just means a floating factory. It sits on top of a gas field, sucks the gas up, turns it into a liquid, and stores it. On the right, you have an FSRU. Think of this one as a floating import terminal. It takes the liquid gas delivered by other ships, turns it back into a gas, and then pipes it to the shore. So, one's a factory, the other's a receiving dock. And this really shows you the difference visually. I mean, look at that thing on the left. That's the Petronas Satu FSO. It's just a maze of pipes and machinery, a true industrial plant sitting on the water. Then on the right, you've got an FSRU. It looks a bit more like a regular tanker, but it's packed with all the tech needed to turn that liquid fuel back into gas. Okay, so once a company or a country decides, yep, we're going with a floating solution, they're not done yet. They still have two more huge, critical choices to make that are going to shape the whole project. So the first decision is, where are we going to park this thing? Do you anchor it way out in the rough, open ocean, miles from land? Or do you tuck it into the calm waters of a port or a protected bay? Now, the open sea option, that requires some seriously complex and expensive mooring systems to handle big storms. The nearshore option, on the other hand, is a whole lot simpler and cheaper. And as you can probably guess, most projects go for the nearshore option, just like the one you see here. Being close to the coast just makes everything easier. Calmer water, simple access for crews and supplies, and a much shorter, cheaper pipeline to get the gas where it needs to go. It's kind of a no-brainer. The second big choice is this. Do we build a brand new ship from scratch, or do we just convert an old one? It's that classic trade-off, right? If you look at the right, converting an old tanker is way faster. We're talking half the time, and it's cheaper up front. But a new build on the left, yeah, it takes longer, but it'll last longer, and you can customize it to be absolutely perfect for the job. Okay, so when you start to put all these pieces together, the mobility, the lower costs, the faster timelines, this is where you really begin to see the truly game-changing advantages of this floating technology. I mean, just think about this for a second. Building a traditional LNG import terminal on land is a monumental project. It takes years and years of construction, navigating a nightmare of permits, and carries a price tag that often soars past $1 billion. But a floating terminal, an FSRU, can do the exact same job for a fraction of that cost. Some estimates put it as low as $300 million. I mean, come on. That completely changes the economics of energy infrastructure. It rewrites the entire rulebook. So what this all boils down to is this incredibly powerful mix of benefits. You're not just saving a ton of money. You're saving time, getting energy flowing years faster than you could with a land-based plant. Plus, and this is huge, you get insane flexibility. If the market shifts, you can literally pick up your terminal and move it to a different country. And being offshore often makes the whole environmental and regulatory process a lot smoother. And look, this isn't some niche futuristic idea anymore. As the International Gas Union says themselves, this is a proven and reliable technology. It's letting countries that never had a way to tap into the global gas market become importers, and it helps existing markets handle those winter demand spikes so much more efficiently.
So what does the future hold for all this? Well, it's pretty interesting because it turns out the two types of floating solutions, the factories and the terminals, they seem to be on very different paths.
The market for FSRUs, those floating terminals, is absolutely booming right now. Their speed and flexibility make them the perfect tool for countries that want to start importing LNG fast, or for places that only need extra gas during the coldest months. They're a fast, adaptable solution for a world that's changing fast.
But on the other hand, for those giant floating factories, the FPSOs, it's a completely different story. Their growth has been much, much slower. See, these are massive, multi-billion-dollar bets on future gas prices. And after a few years of oversupply, investors have been really cautious about funding huge new production projects.
And that leaves us with this final thought. In a global energy system that is demanding more speed, more flexibility, and better costs, are these floating solutions just a clever alternative? Or are we actually watching them become the new standard for how we connect the world to natural gas? That's a question that's being answered right now, out on the high seas.